Hello, everybody. Beautiful Thursday that this comes out. We are predicting the San Francisco 49ers and Minnesota Vikings football game. Will, you and I, before the cameras began rolling, were reminiscing on week one and the beautiful thing that it was how San Francisco had a home game against the Jets and beat the brakes off of them. You know, the Jets who play in New Jersey. We had an away game against the Giants who play in New Jersey, and we also beat whatever I said out of them. So pretty neat little parallels there. Let's talk about this matchup, man. Let's dive right into it. I'm gonna skip the how you doings because we just talked a couple of days ago, and I don't think that your mood has changed that much. So let's San Francisco scary. It's almost Halloween time. What's spooky about this San Francisco team? Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. That's where all the money seems to be going.
That's just it. It's all the money going to the offense with a competent quarterback who can get the ball to his playmakers on time and in space. And then obviously the Trent Williams piece just goes without saying. He's seemingly ageless and continues to be paid big money and deserves every penny of it. Until Trent Williams has a significant injury or shows real visible decline, he's going to be worth whatever they're paying him because he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He missed all of training camp because he wasn't willing to practice until he got that deal, and he looked just fine on Monday night. So all that being said, I think to sum up the offense, maybe in one neat, tidy little bow, it's just all you have to say is Kittle, Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk. 5 skill players, all Pro Bowl level. I don't know if they have all made the Pro Bowl in the same season, but they're all Pro Bowl level. And you got a quarterback who doesn't make too many mistakes. Say what you want about Brock Purdy. I don't particularly love him as a quarterback in terms of upside, but for this team, for this coach, for this ridiculous offense, he's just fine. He got his team within 3 points of a Super Bowl championship last season. So it's a tall task. I mean, the Vikings have not beat around the bush at all themselves when talking about the 49ers. So there's not a whole lot to say if you've watched the NFL in the last couple of seasons, especially 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 NFC Championship games. They're one of the most dominant teams that haven't won a Super Bowl in recent memory. So, Jordan, I don't know if there's anything specific on the offensive side, maybe outside of sort of the generalizations that I just made, but is there any one specific, maybe a matchup that maybe freaks you out the most about their offense compared to the Vikings defense?
Yeah, it's the wide receivers against our secondary. I feel like our secondary was not tested in that New York game, and it was, in part because the defensive line was causing havoc, and also in part because Daniel Jones can't complete a pass consistently. Like, he had maybe 2 good throws in that game, like the more I look back on it. And a lot of them were just bad balls. And Brock Purdy is going to throw a little bit more consistently. He might not hit perfect passes, but he's going to hit open guys. So the secondary, I think that they're going to be tested. There's a lot of veterans back there, let's say. That's my way of saying it's kind of an old folks home. Stephon Gilmore, Harrison Smith, they were both drafted before I was in high school, or maybe right as I entered high school. So that's something. Like, I have a kid now. Like, that's something, And then, Shaq Griffin, not a spring chicken, dealt with some injuries. Really, Cam Bynum's like the one young face that it's like, oh, there he is. And then, I keep wanting to, yeah, thank you. And so I don't know. I feel like it might not go the Vikings' way, but it's going to come down to that pass rush. But like you said, they do have Trent Williams. Also, I want to point out, you listed their weapons in probably the weirdest way I've ever heard them listed. Because Juszczyk was the second one, and not like a last minute, don't forget about Kyle Juszczyk. Like, no, it was Kittle and Juszczyk first, Oh, then we'll talk about like the guys who make all pros and like like the like potential MVP candidates. Staying on the 49ers offense, it will be interesting to see if McCaffrey plays in this game. He kind of took himself out of practice on Friday before the Jets matchup and then was like a last second scratch. He's dealing with like Achilles tendonitis or something. So, the Niners have said, oh, maybe I've just heard this said about them so many times that I believe they've said it. The 49ers have to look at the season as like 21 games because they want to make Super Bowl runs. So they can't really be making decisions. Do we want to win week 2 or do we want McCaffrey come the playoffs? The Achilles is nothing to play around with. I think they know that. But it isn't inspiring that McCaffrey's backup, Jordan Mason, went for like $175 and 2 touchdowns on Monday night. Seems like they're going to run the ball no matter who it is. I mean, Juszczyk will lace it up and probably run for a good 80. So the running game is fierce. It's incredible. Their offense is crazy. Do you have a matchup on that side of the ball? I feel like I just took like all of them, and I'm very sorry.
No, it's good. I'll actually take the sort of opposite approach and why maybe honestly the matchup that I am looking forward to the most that can tip the scales in the Vikings' favor. I think it's Brian Flores against Brock Purdy. Because I think Brian Flores can do enough to confuse Brock Purdy. I mean, you saw it last year in that Week 7 Monday night game. Now, I do think there probably was a little bit of concussion going on with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
But that's speculation. So, like, if you just look at what happened, it was clear that Purdy was not on time, on rhythm. He was flustered a little bit, and he made some ill-advised throws. And I think something that is very clear about the 49ers is that when Brock Purdy is on time and he knows where to go with the ball, they are a machine because, like you said, they can churn out 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, and then you're in second and short, third and very short, and it's just sort of this methodical machine that goes down the field with ease. But if Brian Flores can do enough to make it so that it's not obvious to Brock Purdy where to go with the ball, with his confuses, with his disguises, with different coverages, varying blitz packages like he does every night, it seems, that's where the tide can turn in the Vikings' favor. So I think that is something that I'm going to be watching continuously is how does Purdy look in the pocket? Does he look comfortable? Does he look like he knows where he wants to go with the ball, or is he hesitating? Yeah. Because I think that could be a very key, really a matchup in this game.
Yeah, my bow on the 49ers offensive side of things is it is about the Vikings because, I do think we should talk about the Vikings defense and give them some credit. It's going to be fun to watch. O'Connell said in his press conference, I believe today, that Wednesday, whatever, he said something along the lines of they have a lot of teams that are like very physical in this stretch, and he challenged his team and set the tone that he wanted them to be a physical team, and he wanted the Vikings to be a team that other teams didn't look forward to playing because they were going to, they'd be in the tub for a couple days afterwards. So it's going to be interesting to see the Vikings, who are trying to take on this like tough guy mentality as a team, go up against really, I would say, the tough guys of the NFL in San Francisco, and I'm going to be excited. I'm hoping they bring it. It might be a little bit more difficult for them to bring it. Game 1, easy, first game of the season. Sunday Night Football, easy, first game of the season. Like, first primetime game or something like that. It's a primetime game. It's under the lights. I'm hoping the home opener factor amps this defense up. They play electric and just out of their minds, and that's really what we're going to need if we're going to, get a victory in this one. Let's flip things. Let's talk about the Vikings offense and San Francisco's defense. San Francisco's defense did a really good job limiting the Jets. Now, how much of that is the Jets versus how much of that is San Francisco being a very physical and well-coached defense? That's still to be determined. I will say this. I I think it's more the Jets than it is San Francisco. I don't think they did a ton to like change their defense, and the defense wasn't as good as like usual last season. So I do expect, Jefferson, maybe Addison, but maybe just Naylor and Sheffield and Tristan Jackson, like, all those guys. I expect the receivers to be able to make some plays, but I would anticipate a tough day for Aaron Jones. What's your outlook on this? What's your matchup? What do the Vikings need to do to get a W on Sunday offensively?
I think it's honestly, the way I look at this, it's almost similar to the way I looked at the Giants game. Now, don't get me wrong. The Giants and the 49ers are two completely different opponents. But when you look at the strength of the Giants was their front three, their front four, really. With the 49ers, their front is still good. I do think it's older, though. There's Javon Hargrave is 31. Devondre Campbell is 31. Leonard Floyd is 32. Obviously, Nick Bosa still in the prime of life, and he's going to be coming out for blood. He's fantastic. But those other guys, obviously great players, big names. Seems like they got a big name at every position on this team. But they're maybe not as ferocious as they used to be. So put that aside for a minute. I think the reason why I look at this similarly to how I looked at the Giants game is because my fear with the New York matchup was the Vikings would do what they have done in the past, where they'd run the ball early. If it wasn't going well, they'd bail. But they didn't do that. They stuck with the run and they stayed consistent with it. And by the third quarter, Aaron Jones broke two big runs, sort of broke the back of the defense. Vikings went up by two. I guess it was 3 scores at that point, kind of put the game away. And so that's the biggest thing here, too, that I'm looking for. It's so early in the season that the Vikings are still offensively looking to find an identity. Side note, I think they've already found their identity on defense, but we can talk about that maybe a different time.
Yeah.
But with the offensive identity, I think you and I were both a little sort of confused with how the first game went insofar as Jefferson got like 4 or 5 targets. Addison only played maybe about half the game, but he only had a few targets. It was almost this thing where it's like we were almost surprised with how well Sam Darnold was distributing the ball equally across the field. And so I think we're both still trying to figure out what the identity of this offense is. Is it going to be a big play offense? Is it going to be a pound the rock offense? We don't really know yet. So what I do know, though, is in order to find that identity, you got to stick with the running game early so that it can open up things like the play action later in the game, to give Darnold some easy throws downfield, etc. So although I tend to agree with you that I don't think Aaron Jones is going to go off against this front, I think you need to continue to push on him and lean on him. And give Aaron Jones as many cracks at it as you can. He's a different cat back there, and I think we saw that on Sunday. And so I'd like to see, in maybe a little bit more of a adversarial situation, can we continue to push on that run game button as much as we possibly can without completely breaking?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think Ty Chandler's going to have not a big game, but he's going to have to do a lot in this one for a backup running back, and whether that be coming in just to give Jones a series off and the offense not missing a beat, and maybe that means Chandler has like 25 rushing yards on like 7 attempts or something, like somewhere in that range where it's just like he plays a series or two just to make sure Jones is fresh or as fresh as possible, so that way Jones can be, his full effective self throughout the entirety of the game. That's going to be so crucial in this matchup. To me, go ahead.
Really quick thing, and then I'll let you go. The one thing that I do think might need to happen in this game, which did happen last year in that Monday night win, is you might have to get a little tricky on offense. I mean, this defense is, like you said, maybe wasn't as stout as it has been in years past, but they were still 3rd in points allowed, 8th in yards allowed last year. I mean, they were still very good. 5th most turnovers. I mean,
Yeah.
they're one of the best kind of year in, year out, no matter who the defensive coordinator is. And what I think might need to happen at some point, maybe in the third quarter or something, if things get bottled up a little bit, is you might need to break out that Justin Jefferson pass or a jet sweep to Brandon Powell or something, just to change the gears a little bit and make the
Yeah.
49ers react rather than just predict what's coming.
Yeah, I think this is one of the games where you look at the schedule and it's like, and teams do this. This is a confirmed thing where teams will empty the bag of tricks slowly. Like they have 20 tricks and they will sprinkle them across the season when they see fit. So this is a game where you need to do a trick or two. Like this is definitely one where it's like this is big. We got to keep a lot of them it's a long season. San Francisco warrants a couple of tricks, and I agree with you there. Sam Darnold has to. I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I'm gonna keep saying this. He has to just. I don't want to say manage the game because that gets overused. He has to play. He has to just play mistake-free football, make your reads. The O-line has to give him time, not like 7 seconds, but like they just have to give him enough time to go like 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, and don't false anything. Sam Darnold, I'm hoping the Giants game we will look back and that will be the starting point or the launching pad of this take that I'm about to unveil. Sam Darnold has realized he is not Superman. And so he needs to not play like he's Superman. He's not on the Jets. He doesn't have to carry this team that's been bad forever back to relevancy, or to relevancy for the first time maybe ever, maybe. It's like he just has to realize he is a cog in a machine, the way that San Francisco truly goes through QBs, and it seems like they are just cogs in a machine because of all the talent that's around him. The Vikings do not have as much offensive talent as Brock Purdy has with his 49ers, but Sam Darnold has Jefferson. We'll see about Addison. He hasn't practiced yet. They're still kind of playing it close to the vest, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's going to play personally. Yeah, I don't think so. But he's got Jefferson. He's got Jones. That's really it. Naylor, though, we think has something. We liked what we saw out of Tristan Jackson. Trent Sherfield is a reliable veteran guy. Like, he just has to trust that those guys are going to make plays, and if nothing's there, you have to take your checkdowns and kill them by 1,000 cuts, and trust that your running backs are going to carry you in this game. So Sam Darnold has to go out there and have another day where it's like, yeah, I don't know that Sam Darnold is a top 16 quarterback, but in this offense and this coaching staff and these circumstances, he can be a part of a top 16 team, a unit, if you will. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is it's all about Sam. Sam just, I want to call him Slinging Sam, but I don't want him to be a slinger. I just want him to be like, I'll have to workshop that. I will have to workshop. I'll find an S word that means game manager and come back to you. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm ready to get into game balls. If you're ready to get into game balls, I'm ready to get into game balls.
Yeah, let's do it. I think Systematic Sam could work. We could maybe workshop that a little bit more, but might be a little too long.
No, I maybe just System Sam.
System Sam. He is the system?
He is the system.
A little James Harden dig there. Yeah, let's get into game balls. So I'm going to give you my game ball prediction along with my score prediction because they work very well hand in hand. So let me tell you a little story, Jordan. According to our good friend Dustin Baker on the old X machine today, he remarked that the 49ers have not won in Minneapolis in 32 years.
Wow.
They've lost 7 consecutive games at the Metrodome and US Bank Stadium combined. That's a long time. Now, I think you and I both know that when the Vikings go to San Francisco, it's never a day at the beach. Those are always... I remember the game when Adrian Peterson ran for like -3 yards or something on 14 carries. Like, that was pain. But this game's in Minneapolis, just like last year was in Minneapolis. So the scheduling gods have worked in our favor. There's a few other things in the Vikings' favor. It's early enough in the season you can pounce a little bit more on a not fully finished product. Our division rivals, they get to play, or they have to play the 49ers in week 12 if you're the Packers, week 14 if you're the Bears, week 17 if you're the Lions.
Oof.
That's go time, end of the season. The 49ers are going to be, we would assume, at their peak at that point. The Vikings get him in week 2. Yes, Trent Williams was awesome on Monday night. Yes, Brandon Ayuk is back and he's playing, but he didn't look very good on Monday night. If you watched, he dropped a touchdown. He didn't look terribly engaged. He might be a little bit rusty because he didn't do a whole lot in training camp, or maybe he just didn't even show up to training camp. Another thing that the 49ers looked a little bit rusty on Monday night was they couldn't finish drives. They had succinct drives. They got all the way down the field, and once they got inside that 20-yard line, things sputtered up and stopped, and they kicked 6 field goals. If they just convert a couple more touchdowns, they beat the Jets by 30 points, and it's over at halftime.
Yeah.
But the 49ers' inability to score touchdowns could be a problem. The last thing that I want to say before I make my game ball and prediction here is last season, week 7, the 49ers were 5-1, the Vikings were 2-4, going in opposite directions. The Athletic, a publication of the New York Times, had the 49ers ranked second in their power rankings. This season, week 2, they're coming to US Bank Stadium, ranked second in the power rankings at the Athletic. Same ranking, same team that they're visiting. Same team, same game, same situation where no one's respecting the home team and assuming it's going to be a bloodbath from the road team. Now to the game ball. Now to the prediction. The 49ers scored a bunch of points on special teams on Monday night, right? 18 points on the field goal. They seem to be proficient in that regard. If you look a little bit deeper, though, at the expected points from the San Francisco 49ers special teams, the kicking game was the only place that was good. They had a terrible time in the kickoff game, -7 points expected. The punt return was not much better. You look down the line, they only had about a 0.9 positive for expected points from the special teams. And that's factoring in the +7 that you got from the kicking field goal game. This is a special teams unit that can be exploited. So that is something that is going to have to be taken into account here. Matt Daniels is going to have to do something to work something up his sleeve, whether it's in the kickoff, the dynamic kick return, whatever it might be, to get the 49ers off their game. And so on that regard, on that point, the Vikings are going to win this game with lots of good plays special teams-wise. They're going to win this game in the third phase, and Will Reichert is going to kick a game-winning field goal, and he's going to get his first game ball at the horn. Vikings 24, 49ers 22.
Wow. Okay, so W 24 to what?
22.
25 to 22. Wow. All right. I appreciate all of the reasons that you just gave. I will say, to push back, we'll play devil's advocate, okay? It's kind of telling that you have to look at the special teams to be like, that's where the advantage is right there, baby. We got them on the special teams. I just know it. Like, look, man, I think the 49ers are better than us. I picked them to beat the crap out of us last year. I'm going to do it again. I'm not as disheartened about it this time around, because this time around, like, oh, J.J. McCarthy's hurt, we're playing with house money, yada yada. It's Sam Darnold. I expect him to not turn into a pumpkin, but just struggle a little bit in this game. So I have I'll do my game ball. And this is my mentality, because I'm going to pick a loss. So if you pick a loss, but you still have to give a game ball, your game ball has to be, why did you win when you thought you were going to lose? Like, it has to be a player that changes the game. And I know I pointed out the secondary, but, like, I don't know, man. Jonathan Grenard was awfully quiet, and it would be really funny if Van Ginkel just dominated New York in week 1, and then Jonathan Grenard comes in and rocks Brock Purdy all day long on Sunday. and really just and it just stifles that offense. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard, another new face, just kind of copying what Will did. I'm not going to go with that. I wanted to go with Dallas Tunnel so bad, but I'm not going to let myself. I'm going with Grenard, but I do have us losing this game, and I actually am going to kind of use my 7-point cushion that I have in my point differential here. I'm going to pick the Niners to beat us. How bad do I want the offense to look in this game? How bad do I think the offense will look in this game? I'm going to say 23-13. So Will Lyko still gets 2 field goals, but the offense only musters a single touchdown. So let me make sure. What did I say? 23-13?
Yes, sir.
23-13. That is the official prediction. I have predicted the Vikings win 1 by 10, and now that they lose 1 by 10, just for the record, we are recording our actual thing, so we're both 1-0 right now. There will be a lead in the record department. The division standings will be separated after this. So, Will, I'm gonna pass it off to you to get your final thoughts real quick, and then I'll take us home, if you will.
Awesome. Really simple final thought for me. The Vikings aren't gonna win on Sunday if they don't clean up the penalties and if they don't clean up the turnovers. 2 turnovers, like I said on the Giants recap show, not the end of the world, but you can't keep doing that every game. You can't turn the ball over twice against San Francisco and expect to win. The penalty-wise, 7 accepted penalties for 63 yards. Again, not the end of the world. But in Kevin O'Connell's first 2 seasons, his teams are only committing 5 penalties a game for about 40 yards a game. So they've really got to bring it back down to the average of what O'Connell's teams have been known for, which is pretty clean football, if they want a chance to beat this team. You can't play sloppy and beat somebody as good as San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. My final thoughts. I was thinking on my way home from my Bible study about what I wanted my final thoughts to be, and I was like, man, do I have anything fun? Because I don't want to talk about the Vikings, honestly, but I couldn't land on anything, so my final thoughts are just going to be, let's all stop overreacting so dang much. I know it's fun to be like, oh, overreaction Monday and blah, 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 but good night, man. And Will, I'm not throwing shade at you because I understand you picked this to be a win before week 1, so you're sticking to your guns. I'm not going to blame you for that. Everyone and their mother is predicting the Vikings to win this game, and it's look, I love betting on underdogs. I really do. They don't hit very often. Vegas is usually pretty correct about their things, and I get it's early in the season, but man, people are complaining that Sam Darnold didn't shoot up quarterback power rankings, and the Vikings are still in the 20s in team power rankings, and it's guys, please, we beat the Giants. Whoop-de-who. It's the Giants. They're not very good, so let's all just calm down. I'm just trying to be the voice of reason. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to, be excited to watch the team. But I know everyone's going to overreact the other way come Sunday night. If the Vikings do lose this game and the offense doesn't look good, it's going to be why'd we even sign Sam Darnold? Oh, he turned back into a pump. It feels like there's no room to exist in the happy middle. And this whole season, I'm floating in the happy middle. The Vikings are going to win at least 7 games and at most 10. That's how it's. I'll say at most 11. That's where we're going to be, happy middle. It's going to be a fun season. They're going to, the defense is going to fly around. Sam Darnold's going to have a couple games where you're yeah, and he's going to get a decent contract next season. So that's all from Jordan and Will here at Load the Box. Tune in. The next show will be next Tuesday. It will be grades from the couch, where me and my brother Josh will hand out letter grades to 6 Vikings, and then me and Will be back in your face on Wednesday and Thursday, breaking down game, the San Fran game, and then looking ahead to the Houston game. Is that correct? Yes, so the Stephon Diggs and Danielle Hunter revenge game, and Case Keenum revenge game. So all of that's fun. Make sure to follow the show at LTB Vikings on X. Follow Will on X at Will Bad Lose. Shop Unified. Smash that subscribe button. I can't say that. No, I can't actually commit to that. You don't have to do it. If you like the show, please do. Even if you like the show and you don't want to, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you. But yeah, guys, we'll be back. Love you, mean it. Skull, y'all.